Welcome, everyone. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, and I wasn't hearing the intro, and I was watching Matthew groove over there and dance, so I knew he could hear it, but I couldn't hear it.
I love your intro.
Thank you. It was fun to make too. I'm due to make another one, so as usual, I tell everybody that I am your favorite apostate. And that it's so corny that if I just keep telling you over and over and over and over and over again, I can convince you by way of brainwashing, by way of mind control, that I am your favorite apostate. Because that's really a way of one of the techniques and tactics of brainwashing. If you repeat it over and over and over again, different things, it will be like that. Anne Marie is in the house. Woohoo! Anne Marie is the host on the very first show that starts on Saturdays for 6 screens. And people call in and talk about what's on their mind. Sometimes she does interviews. So if you're wanting to be interviewed or to tell a bit about your story, how you possibly left the org, or just want to talk about a subject that comes up, you can do that there. I brainwashed you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you, Happy Thoughts. Thank you. I've succeeded.
I feel my brain's getting washed. I feel it's getting a good scrub. And by the way, Anne Marie is a real class act. Got to tell you.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. As a matter of fact, the last time I've been meaning to call you, Anne Marie. Last time she and I talked, because we do every so often, I was having one of those days where she gave me a call and I said, can I just vent? Can I just bitch and you not take it personally? I'm not bitch. Can I just bitch? Like, blah. And I don't even know how long I went on. I went on and on and on with everything that was in my head. I just did a dump. And she listened. She just was like, she just listened. And it was just so amazing. And then I would take another deep breath and go,
oh no. Anne Marie says, I lost your number, Lyndon.
Well, I got it from Rick. I started to realize, why am I not getting through? Oh, that's right. You had that event going to the ex-Jehovah's Witness convention where you lost your phone. This was a nightmare that I was thinking, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. But somehow you made it there, which was great. Purple, hey you. So I thought, if she lost her phone, she might have had to get a new one. So I had asked him to check with you, and he just like didn't even bother. He just gave it to me, which is like not what he will normally do, but that was cool. So I'm bragging on Anne Marie and the kind of friend that she is and has been for me. And we talk. We're not like an every week talking kind of people, but when we get to talk, it's like we just pick up from last time and go on, which is a good thing.
Well, it's an incredible skill to be present and to be able to absorb without, you know, escalating the situation, knowing how to go, look, this is an important thing, just to be present in this way. And yeah,
it was a whole lot of uncertainty that was just feeling horrible, you know. Oh man. So I know what I do. I always use the phone for this. Okay. And I'll try
Well,
to click on the
can I
screen.
read out Anne Marie's comment?
Sure. Thank you.
She says, "Thank you, Aposta Babe. I do miss you. Happy Thoughts gives plenty of thumbs up and also says, you can vent anytime, Linda. And
Thank you.
greetings to Purple."
Thank you. So I'm going to start off tonight with what I've always said about our President Trump. I do not hate him. Please know this. I have respect for him as holding the position of being our president. I have respect for that position as well. But he scares the holy crap out of me. And lately, even more so. Okay, even more so. We've gone from, I don't know, a couple of Easters ago when he was just, giving us his Bible, right? His Trump Bible, which is going to be ones that will be used in schools. And by the way, these are King James Bibles. And so it's not, he's not doing any kind of copyright. The King James is at the place where you can use a King James to print up a Bible. So there is that. And so he's gone from like, yay, we have a Bible to, I don't know if you all have seen Easter morning post that he made on his Truth Social. It was way, way different. And way, way, so I really believe he's dealing with dementia or some kind of Alzheimer's. So I believe that's part of what's going on. So his personality is very like, he goes with the moment, his own gut feeling. He'll make just choices at the time, and he goes with his gut and does stuff like that. And then there's the side of him that's very, if you're upsetting him, he'll let you know you've upset him and call you names, right? So he decided to do this post about, genociding a whole country. And it was bizarre. I don't have it in front of me. And basically, praise Allah, and it was just unreal. Okay, unreal. It was one of those like, you look at it. I looked at it and just had no words to even comment about it. And I'm noticing it's affecting other people this way too. So there's that side of me. Did you want to nothing?
I was just listening to you. There was a couple of things there that you had me on, and I wasn't sort of having a pressing need to comment. But one was the gut, and I was thinking back to Pete, and Pete says, "Watch out for that McRib." That was number one.
Yes.
Number two, and some people love the big M. Oh, they love it, loving it. So that's happening. So that just came to mind. And then the other thing was, being very respectful here, okay, because we've got persons of faith. We also have persons that are of no particular religion. They're spiritual people, and certain persons who don't want to touch any kind of spirituality. They say, no. Pause on that one, thank you. So we have all kinds of persons in the audience here. But the praise Allah is also being rung by the King of England as well, and
Right?
and the
Oh
Prince.
my. Oh my. Okay. This I didn't know. Interesting. Interesting. So things are happening that are not the usual. We've got JD Vance over in Hungary helping the president there win the next election, which I've heard Bannon say that the United States will be the next hungry, kind of thing. And that's terrifying. Okay. That's very terrifying to me. And they have I believe it's called like a state church, right? So if you listen to, um, so some of the conservatives, not all of them, but some of them that are far right, have a mindset of looking forward to the United States becoming a theocracy, and
Right.
the importance of the whole United States becoming a Christian nation and actually creating kingdom on earth through the seven mountain mandates. Okay. And I can't even tell you what they are and off my head, but it's like infiltrating the government, infiltrating entertainment, and infiltrating education, all these different areas that will bring Christianity, and bring this United States into a theocracy, which theocracy means a government ruled by God. And I grew up under a theocracy, and it wasn't a good time. Okay? Let me just say that right now. Um, and, and not just because I was a woman, but because whoever the leadership is tells you what all scripture means, and you don't get to make your own decisions because you were put in a place, you were gaslit. Okay. To not trust your own self, your own reasoning skills, your own heart, your own intuition, and you are placed in a position to have to trust and obey their guidance, right? Okay, Christian nationalism is so hypocritical. It's it Yeah, it can be. So within this Christian nationalism, which is pretty much a white Christian nationalism, and I know there might be people listening to me disagreeing with me, and that's fine. This is what I've observed from my studies: is the Christian nationalism kind of is focusing on the whiteness of the United States and bringing back things from like the founding fathers, which back at that time, those that could vote and be a part of things like having anything to do with the politics were basically white men that owned property. And if you weren't owning property, you were pretty much disenfranchised. And as things went into government to where the black man was able to no longer be a slave and to assimilate into society at large, which didn't turn out too well, but it has become better today. But it's kind of backed up a little bit. So at that time, what I noticed was that the people at the head of government were pitting us against each other. So it was like telling the poor white person that the other nationalities that are coming in, whether they were Asian or black or any Hispanic, um, they're going to take your jobs as though the white poor man was entitled to those jobs, and if anybody else of any other culture had them, that would get us to be pitted against each other. Okay, so this is the place where it's supposed to end up, is that all these different things combined. It's been going on for quite a while. Um, I mentioned last week to look into the book called Opus, about the group Opus Dei, which started in the early 1920s in um, Spain, and it is still going today. And that kind of is combined with seven, mountain mandate. There's a combination of different kinds of Christianity that qualifies as the right kind of Christianity, and the other kind is just not okay. Oh, and Trump got mad at the Pope. Okay, this is a nervous laugh you're seeing on me. A nervous laugh because he literally was like, uh, "You better be on our side." Like, just it was a threat, and the Pope was like, standing his ground. So these are more dramatic things that Trump is doing. That is, I'm watching conservative people on Facebook going, oh, hell no, we got to get him out. Like, I've never seen this from ordinary conservatives to just be like, how do we get him out of office? Okay. Like, they are freaking out because of the behavior, okay, of Trump. So I have concerns. So part of what gets us when we're involved in a cult, and by the way, we could be involved in a political cult, a family cult, a one-on-one cult with either a spouse or a friend or even a boss or a therapist. Anybody that has a position of authority and power over us makes an uneven placement to where we could become abused. What's good is when we have somebody in our lives that has that higher power and authority over us and they treat us decently. And there are, judges out there that are like this and people out there that are like this. They have good ethics and they, treat the people that they know well with decency. So also, Hegseth, I have a hard time saying his name. The one that's in charge of Department of Defense, which he's labeled Department of War, which can't be properly done unless he goes through Congress, which hasn't gone through Congress. Oh, and we started the war without going through Congress, and this is scary. Okay, and the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because when we were part of the Jehovah's Witness organization, or we were part of a cult situation, keeping us terrified was the gig. Okay, keeping us terrified would put us in a position to where we were much more easily led. Okay, so somebody in an authority position could say go this way or go this way, and because they're in that authority position and we have that heightened state of fear, I'm trying to think of the word, hypervigilant, okay, like like always just on edge, okay, because we don't know what's coming next. Was he going to genocide this country with nuclear weapons? Does he have the numbers to get in? Naiveness, we don't know the whole process. Our minds can get away with us and we can picture all kinds of things that probably isn't even possible. Okay, but because we don't know, it adds to the hello, Mama Bear, hello. So it adds to that constant state of hypervigilance. So again, it's to keep us in a place to be more easily directed. So keep that in mind if you're experiencing high anxiety or a sense of panic. That's a normal reaction, but please understand the purpose of it, okay? It's the same purpose as why the organization had us in that mode on a regular basis. And the way we experienced it in the organization was the reminding of all this power that Satan the devil had and could have over us individually, right? And all this, like, Armageddon could happen any minute now. And by the way, I grew up on 1975, okay? I was 11 years old. I was 11 years old. I remember it as clear as day. So from the time I was like 4 years old and seeing my little feetsies off the end of the chair, where your little calf, is like flattened. And I remember looking at this watchtower that says, why are you looking forward to 1975? And I'm telling you, every single meeting, 1975 was mentioned. And you will hear that the organization never said that in 1975 Armageddon would hit. And okay, what they did do was speak about 5 or 4 different things. And when you combined those 5 or 4 different things, that equaled Armageddon is probably going to hit. It's a high likelihood that Armageddon's going to hit in 1975. Some have heard September. I heard October. So we had an expectation, a high expectation, and some of the behavior that you might have heard about, people, selling their homes and spending out the rest of the years or days or months, going out and being in these different places to spread the word, the Jehovah's Witness gospel. So something they had to have heard something for them to be motivated to behave in the way that you've heard people behave. So when I heard there was a video that came out, I would say about 4 assemblies ago, or what do they call them today? Assemblies, okay, I can't think of it. Symposiums. There was a film, and it
The
said,
trumpet blast.
could be, as they're talking about the 70s, 1975, they're saying some people thought as if it was like these individual people within the organization went off on their own to have these thoughts. I'm telling you right here and now, every single meeting and every time we went out in service, 1975 was brought up with expectation. Now, after 1975 came and went, there was crickets. Nobody talked in 1975 about anything. Except every once in a while, I was looking at an elder telling my parents, well, we don't know when Eve was created. Okay. Let me just say that was incredibly lame. I can understand why they grabbed onto that and used that as a possibility, but women within this culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses are very low on the totem pole. And in Bible days, they didn't amount to anything. Many of the women didn't even get their names mentioned, okay? They were considered so-and-so's wife. So since when does women amount to anything is my answer to that. And it was kind of like, yeah, that doesn't apply in Bible land, nor this theocracy that I'm growing up under. So 1978 happens, November 1978. And I'm looking at a newspaper stand, which we used to have, newspaper stands with these glass fronts, and they would lay these newspapers stacked on top of each other. But there was this one glass front where you could lift it up, grab a paper, and put it back down. They would have a newspaper held up to where you can see the front page. And I'm looking at a newspaper stand, looking at a ton of people on a grassy, beautifully green grass with a bunch of dead people, okay? This was Jim Jones in Guyana. And at that time, it was called a suicide. It was called a mass suicide. And, I was looking at families holding each other, and I didn't know. I didn't know the words to use. But I remember looking at that picture, and I understood why each and every one of them committed suicide. It was like, I get it. I totally, like, there was no question in my mind of how or why they could do it. I knew why they could do it, but I didn't. I would not have said it or explained it. I didn't have the understanding then. That today I can say it's because of the influence they were under with Jim Jones, who, by the way, was a very eclectic man. And over time, and he, by the way, he was the very first white man that adopted a black child, who, by the way, is named after him and is still alive today. And he looks upon his father very fondly. He did not experience his father in a manner of what society at large sees Jim Jones as today. He has good memories of his father treating him well, which I'm happy for him to have, you know. So growing up, knowing, understanding why the Jim Jones things happened, and then knowing that, you know, I had to have a blood card in my wallet, or it was in my mother's wallet. It was not easy growing up to as a Jehovah's Witness. And there was somebody on Six Screens earlier tonight. Actually, a couple of people came on talking about just how tough it was to be a child growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I can very much relate to this. Every year, at the beginning of the year, my mother would show up and talk to the teacher, let the teacher know everything I couldn't do, you know. And I remember hearing every single year, I would hear the teacher say something about socializing. And she would say, yes, but we have friends and we socialize amongst ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And so today, now I understand what the socializing is about. I didn't understand it then. So because we only were allowed to associate with other Jehovah's Witness children, that meant that our socializing was very limited. Okay, so we were taught to self-isolate, and our socializing was very limited. So we could easily fall under the category of being what I think it's socially arrested or developmentally arrested. I think it's developmentally arrested. So
sounds correct.
Okay, so growing up socially, we're behind, okay? For a good reason, because all those times that we were forbidden to be part of a classroom where they were maybe celebrating Valentine's Day or Christmas or all those things, yes, they were pagan, and yes, it went against our conscience, but it also took away times of socializing, naturally socializing, okay? And that actually, plus holidays, spending with extended relatives that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. That didn't get to happen for a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. Some were fine with it, some were not. So in my case, it was not going to happen. So it's very easy for us to have been deprived of the socializing. So a lot of us are catching up on this. So, and it's kind of challenging. It's challenging to learn how to make a friend and keep a friend and to have a lasting friend. And the reason for this is because if you were a Jehovah's Witness kid, another kid is automatically a Jehovah's Witness kid. We didn't have to do anything to start a friendship, much at all. It was understood. We were all friends. So that's kind of a foreign thing for us as well. So when as we're trying to assimilate into society at large, it's normal for things to be awkward. It's normal for us to do things socially unacceptable ways because we just don't know yet. So part of this channel is to help support you, and I learn from you, all of us, to help to be able to assimilate into society at large. Even as we're awkward, even as we fall down a few times, we can get up and go again. And it's normal for us to miss the mark at times if we have a lack of experience. So the more we experience, the more we get up and go again. Yes, we'll get some things wrong, but the more we do it, we're going to get more things right. Okay, so it gets better the more we experience things in society at large. It's going to get better. I'm going to also relate being in a cult, which I do see the organization as a high demand, high control, destructive cult, which, okay, again, the word cult comes from the word culture. That's the base word of culture. So there's good cults and there are bad cults, and there were good things about the organization that I can definitely mention, and that I learned and has benefited me. But part of this, being part of a high control group like this, it's very similar to being in an abusive relationship. Okay, if you've noticed somebody that was in a abusive relationship and you're looking at them wondering, why don't they just leave? It's just what's going on here is the reason why they can't leave. Even the courts, when asking questions in the minds of a court, if they could physically get up and walk away, then they weren't unduly influenced. When in actuality, we were unduly influenced or coerced or manipulated to remain in by our teaching. So if we're taught that being within this organization is the only safe place and where God resides, and everything outside of the organization is under the influence of the devil, we might have some hesitation to go out there and want to hang out with people that are also under the influence of the devil. So that's fear indoctrination or fear induction. That's part of what keeps people in. Think about an abusive spouse who tells their victims, "You're not going to amount to anything without me." Okay? Put down, put down, put down, right? The organization tells us that we're not doing enough. And if we behave in this certain way, it displeases God, which is usually a normal behavior. But the way that the organization wants us to behave, they put under the category of pleasing God. If you behave in this way, this pleases God. And I truly believe most Jehovah's Witnesses have a heart that wants to please God. And, you learn if you're in an abusive relationship, let's say, with a partner or a parent, you learn what is the proper behavior, what gives you less of a negative result. And whether that comes natural to you or not, you end up just doing as they want you to do for your own safety. Okay? So this is what happens to us in a high control group. And it can be, again, it can be a political group. If you're familiar with Janja Lalich, she's been on a few shows with cults. She was in a political cult. So, yeah, this is why I bring up Trump, because of the techniques and tactics that he's using on society at large and with other countries. So that's why I bring up politics and stuff like that, because I see the correlations. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I hope it's making sense. Lollipop is a song written by Julius Dixon and Beverly Rose in 1958. It was the first recorded by the duo Ronald and Ruby, with Ross formed as Ruby. Nice. It sounds like you were talking to.
It's our naughty banter, but Pete Hegseth, Linda James, does that ring a bell?
Gosh, yes, you're saying it so much better than me. Yes, he's been. Thank you. He's been praying with this. With it. Okay, what were you going to say about him?
Yeah, just what's it, Secretary of War, or formerly the Secretary of Defense, right?
Yes, and I do still call it Secretary of Defense, even though there's been a ton of money and it says Secretary of War, or however it's supposed to say it, because I'm being a stickler, because they were supposed to go through Congress, but I can't apply that with we're not at war, because Trump didn't go through Congress, because we are. Yeah. And what were you going to say about him?
No, just chipping in there while you were going, let's try and remember his name. So okay. That's all. And then the lollipop thing is just,
Okay. So much like the organization puts people in positions by way of their loyalty, and they'll go higher up and higher up and higher up because of their loyalty. Trump has brought in people within the White House and such because of their loyalty to him. Okay. His loyalty does not go back to them, but he needs their loyalty. So they're not necessarily qualified to hold the positions that they're in, but because of their loyalty, they have those positions. That's also something that I believe happens in the organization. Not to say that um, people in positions haven't been educated, because they have educated some of the people that needed, like lawyers. Okay, Brumley was sent to lawyer school, and he is an actual lawyer. Um, so he was sent to school by the organization and is an actual lawyer. So they can't put somebody in a position of a lawyer if they're not a lawyer. Okay, I'm talking about the Watchtower organization. And I've also seen pictures that hairdressers work at headquarters as well. I used to do hair. I would believe that they were licensed hairdressers too, but I believe that this top down thing, as people get higher and higher up in the echelons, it's very devoted, or because of their loyalty. And if you give them any pushback, you are disposable, because the leadership of cults are those that are very high on the scale of narcissism. Robert J. Lipton, who recently, he died last year at the age of 99. He came up with the 8 criteria to totalism, which is part of what Stephen Hassan came up with, his bite model. So there's a bit of influence there. So
Okay.
he himself spoke of President Trump as a malignant narcissist. And Robert J. Lipton was like a psychiatrist and some other things. He was like, I don't remember all of the titles he had, but he knew his stuff and wrote all these books and everything. And he used to study prisoners of war. Okay, that's why he could write about these techniques and tactics that were used on prisoners of war, which are used on people in high control groups, which are used on victims of abusers. So these all can align, if you can see what I'm talking about. So the more you realize the connections, the more it will make sense to you. And that's why I often talk about the techniques and tactics, not so much about the belief system, but how someone came to a place of believing the belief system of that particular group. So I believe that if somebody believes differently than me, that they have that freedom to have that belief, and that I don't I don't I don't believe it's my place to tell you which direction you should go spiritually. I believe that's something that you will be drawn towards doing, but keep in mind, because of the time we have spent in the org, it's very easily to do what is called cult hopping. So we'll go from one toxic relationship to another toxic relationship extremely easily. Why? Not because we're dumb, not because we're stupid, but because it's familiar and because it feels like home. Okay? And because we attract narcissists. Okay? And what happens with the narcissists is they've got really great behavior for a good amount of time, usually around 3 months. And then it switches. And they'll tell you things like, if it's the case of a partner, romantic partner, they'll like propose to you 3 weeks after y'all are hanging out, right? Really soon. And sooner than it should be. And it feels flattering. It feels like, when you're in a stage of a beginning of a relationship, you're on this high. You're on this great, great high. And when you're in the high and we see these red flags showing up, it's like looking through rose-colored glasses, and all the red flags just look gray. It's hard to just go, oh, yes, I'm going to remember this. we just let that stuff pass by us easily because of our rose-colored glasses. What are you thinking, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm thinking that it sounds familiar because we were told that in JW that the rose-colored glasses thing. So, yeah, I was just drawing from the positive aspect of some of those talks, but I was just also thinking about Gage Flegel and Jeffrey Winder. One of them was a hairdresser. One of them.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a photograph of when they were really young.
Okay.
And where did this photograph? Okay, the photograph was from the Bethel table. You know, you have the pictures of when the guys were just had joined and were skinny, and you know.
Yep.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too
Anyway.
funny. That is so funny.
But I'm
Really
following
funny.
the story there, and also following how you're bringing in the bike model too. You know, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
because it bites.
yes, we will get bitten when we find ourselves in these groups again, when we find ourselves in these relationships again. And I myself have managed to do this a good 4 times. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm literally at the point of I don't trust my picker, okay, because I've not picked wisely. But in actuality, I do trust it more today. When I began to do my research and understanding this whole thing, then the dynamics, I had already been in my last relationship for 3 years, and then that went on for off and on for 13 years. So I had
Okay.
not had that wisdom or knowledge before that last relationship had started. So hopefully I might think wisely next time if there ever is a next time. And this has to do with any kinds of friendship or any kind of group that we get involved in. So yeah. And if we do find ourselves in another situation, which is probable, okay, what we're going to experience is that we're going to recognize it quicker. So we'll be out of it quicker. So the more and more it happens, it's not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of course that would happen. We've been groomed for that to happen. Okay? It's natural for that to happen for us because of the way we've been groomed and the way we've learned to think. Okay? That's why it happens. So as you're healing from the toxicity of the relationships or the groups that we've been involved in, we end up having a better sense of self. So malignant narcissists, cult leaders, they create like mini me's or little, like everybody's supposed to be like the top-notch person. Okay. So as they're going down this level of echelons and becomes the elders that coach us, okay, as if we're Jehovah's Witnesses, there's that side of them that's very listen, be like me. You know, this is how you need to behave. And it comes down from the leadership, how to behave. Okay. So there's that. But we would get out of it quicker. Yeah.
I think we are learning all right, Linda James. Some of these things we cannot seek to force to hurry. But I listen to the wisdom that's coming through. Anne Marie is saying you stop going down the same road with the deep pit. You go down a different road. Happy thoughts. Sheila says, words of wisdom, Linda. Sadly, we tend to ignore the warning signs. Speak to trusted friends first before we jump. Well, guess what? We've got some really good friends that we have in this community. In fact, I think that was the theme of quite a lot of the discussion in the past 24 hours. I was listening to some really great comments about just the genuine relationships. Yes, there are some problems in, if you want to say, apostate or XJW or JW emergent or recovery groups. I say healing network.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
but we've got more genuine connections, even if we disagree, even if it gets heated, or even if we get more sunburn along the way and go, geez, you know what? What were you talking about? Having to vent earlier? Well,
Yeah.
you've recognized that, and of course you were able to get hold of Anne Marie. You mentioned that, and she was able to be present. Well, that sounds like good friendship to me.
Yeah. And it's good to, you know, ask a friend, okay, I'm involved in this group. Do you see any red flags with this group? Ask a friend. Or I'm now dating this certain guy. Do you see any red flags? Or this girl, do you see any red flags? And if you ask someone that you know is a good friend and you know that they want the best for you or have your best interest in mind, I believe they're going to be honest with you. And, you know, ask them their opinion. What what do they think about this person? And listen to them and ask them why. Because again, if when we're first involved in a destructive group, they're probably love bombing us, all right? And if you're first involved in a, let's say a partner romantic relationship, that's happening too. Y'all are love bombing each other. And what will happen is a narcissist will do what is called mirroring. So they'll
Oh,
behave just like you behave. As a matter of fact, if you put your hand this way, they're going to put their hand that way.
crumbs.
You're going to ask them, did you like the movie Ghostbusters? And they're going to say, I loved the movie Ghostbusters. It's so, okay. This is what's going to happen. Okay.
I
So,
loved the movie Ghostbusters.
right.
That's
Exactly. That's what it looks like, just like that. So it seems
yeah.
like everything's going my way, right? So what could be
Hmm.
wrong with this? It's
Hmm.
going, my goodness, we have so much in common, right? What a great
Yeah.
fit, you know? And so, and another thing is if they're high on the narcissistic scale, they'll want to take up most of your time. Please, please, please. And I'm talking to myself as well, because it's really hard to really make some space when you're in that feel
Okay.
good time of this is a great time to make some space in between times that you will see them or be a part of a certain group. That's super important.
Whew.
Otherwise, you don't have time for family. You won't have time for friends. They will take up all your time, and then you'll be expected to be loyal to them, and your behavior better show your loyalty to them.
Sure.
And by this time, you're stupid in love, right? Okay. You're digging the group you're in, and my gosh, you really want to prove to them that your love is sincere. So you kind of buy into this and shape up and stuff. So this is super easy to get caught up in as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Have
just
you?
thinking, I was getting the whole play Misty for me vibe. Do you remember that film? Clint Eastwood?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was an American neo-noir psychological thriller film, directed by and starring Clint Eastwood. And it had, who was it? Jessica Walter, Donna Mills. Yeah, what was the plot? It was basically this relationship that he had, their casual relationship between Dave and Ellen, and it just becomes this obsessive behavior, very volatile. And so you've got this famous play Misty for me because it's one of these psychological thrillers where it just gets completely out of hand. Yeah. So that was what I was thinking as you were talking there.
Yeah. So and yeah. So I'm just talking from wisdom. Whatever rings true to you, that's great. And if you disagree with it, that's fine too. Um, what I share is opinion, and I think it could be time for Matthew to share the thesis thing.
Ooh, I do
Yes.
feel that coming on. Yeah, so we come together as friends, we come together as survivors, observers, um, but we're drawn to this channel, we're drawn to this community because we get to talk like this. but we don't claim to be any kind of authority or anything like this. This is just lived experience and us working things out. So we say whatever we are discussing is a working thesis. So it's not an actual thesis, it's a working thesis. And we say with any working thesis, bring your antithesis for synthesis. And the whole idea is saying essential critical thinking. So have a healthy skepticism, and that's our disclaimer. Because what is it that we're trying to do? We're trying to make for safe community. Hey, Linda James, I think that's our goal. Hey,
I agree. Safe community and the possibility of other choices that we can make. Because what happens when we're in a group or in a relationship, our choices become so much more narrowed. Okay. So, but there's more choices that we actually have that we didn't even know about yet. So as we go out into society at large, do a lot of observing, and ask yourself, how did they, how does that happen? And Google's pretty good for teaching us some stuff that we just don't know how to get to. Reminds me of Watership Down. Okay. Is that the name of the
yes.
movie, Happy Thoughts? Okay.
Watership Down. I remember Moody Blues, and it was a cartoon about the rabbits, eh? Sheila. Yeah. So quite a sad story, but yes, that is applicable indeed. So I don't know if you remember the musicians Moody Blues.
Yes.
They did the song Bright Eyes. So Bright Eyes was a theme piece for that movie. It was an animated movie. I can actually bring it up on the Google since we're talking about it.
Okay.
Watership Down, yeah.
And we would only be able to play a little bit of it, otherwise.
No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Instead of actually playing anything,
Okay.
because we got burned before, didn't we?
Yes.
So back in 1978, Linda James, the British produced the animated adventure drama film produced and directed by Martin Rosen and based on the 1972 novel by Richard Adams. It features the voices of John Hurt, Richard Briers, Harry Andrews, Simon Cadell, Nigel Hawthorne, Roy Kinnear, and Zero Mostel. So what is the plot? Well, you have in Lepine language mythology, so we think of the rabbits, the world was created by the god Frith. All animals were similar, living harmoniously as grass eaters. The rabbits multiplied, though, and their appetite led to a food shortage. Frith ordered the rabbit prince El Ahirira to control his people, but was scoffed at. In retaliation, the angered Frith gave special gifts to every animal, making some into predators to hunt the rabbits, humbling El Ahirira, which caused him to play it safe and try to head underground. Satisfied that El Ahirira had learned his lesson, Frith gave rabbits the gifts of speed and cunning. Well, it's a long story. Anybody who would like to read that, it's a very interesting story. I remember it was a part of my childhood growing up, but Sheila is just remembering this film. There's a good point and reference for the discussion that we're talking about.
Thank you. Alice Power, I totally understand. I'm going to be switching to the bite model, and I understand. Not a problem. And that's taking good care of yourself. So good for you.
Alice, thanks for being present. And
yes.
I don't regard you as a coward, but when you know your limit, I'm glad to know that you are free to share that with us. So thank you very, very much. And if you have to bow out for the evening, I shall bow with you. Thank you. But I will hang on.
Get that. I totally get that. I think,
much love to you all.
So it seems like John Mars made a comment about science. Okay. Mama Bear is confirming it. Yes, John, the science of Mind. I have that book here. It is very interesting. Read it when I woke up. Read it when I woke up. Okay. The Science of Mind. So there's a book that is something that helped Mama Bear. Okay. I actually, so Steve Hassan had a book, Combating Cult Mind Control, and his first book did not have the Jehovah's Witnesses in it. And I read that one. So it didn't feel wrong. And then later he came in with another version that had Jehovah's Witnesses in it and probably some other ones as well, other groups. But
Especially
when I was
revised.
thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still working in the kitchen? So not able to read the chat. No problem, Purple. Yeah. Um, you know what? I'm really thankful that Alice said what she said. It sounds like I'm saying I'm happy you're leaving, but I'm really not. I'm glad that he or she, I'm guessing a she with the name Alice, is tapped into herself enough to understand or get to that she's acquainted with what's coming up for her. So she's paying attention to what her body is saying to her. And it was like time to leave. So she didn't make herself push through hanging out here if it felt uncomfortable, because it did. Okay, it felt uncomfortable for her. And I think that's just really smart. Really, really smart. So any of you that end up going through that, I'm never going to take offense if you have to leave. Really take care of yourself, okay? That's super important.
Well, I've appreciated that with you, Linda James. Sometimes you say, Matt, can see you fading, or sometimes it's missed and you just go, well, you got the freedom, Matt. Don't need to ask permission here. Just, you just respond to whatever's needed. And I'm going, that's cool. I like that. Very cool.
I don't want it to feel like back when we were in the org and that sense of obligation. We have to hit every meeting, otherwise we're considered spiritually weak. That's just, we have our own timing on healing. And sometimes we need to take a break, and that's okay too. But I'm glad that that's cool. I'm glad that's how you received it. So I'm going to try to look up Steve Hassan's fight model, because
Ooh,
that's what I
okay.
had to do last time. I had to look it up. And
Yeah. Do you remember how far we got? Because
I think so.
we normally said Freedom of Mind Research Center. So that much I know. And then there was the Learning Under the Influence Continuum. Is that correct?
I think so.
Influence Continuum sounds like the right
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was
area.
right.
And then we normally read off the PDF.
Yeah. So
And I
I'm
don't know if it was
opening.
point number 6 that we got to, was it? Unethical use of confession. Was that the one, or was it emotional control? I forget.
I know I'll know it when I see it.
Okay, I'm going to keep quiet, and when you open it, then you'll see it. Yeah.
What comes up first is Freedom of Mind by Steve Hassan, and it takes you to Amazon for his books. And I always end up at Amazon when I'm just trying to get to his site, and for his audibles and stuff like that.
Anne Marie says, look for the fingertips with faces painted with black markers, lime green background.
Fire Freedom of Mind Resource Center. Okay. So I opened it up, and I'm going to be looking under Learn, which takes me to the very first thing that's a byte model. And I'm going to scale down to where we were at. Okay.
Purple says, true, you don't even have to be here every week. Linda may be running a cult, but she has no enforcers.
Right. I could find a few men to do my dirty work for me. That would
Yeah, hey, Purple, just, you know. Okay.
that was cool.
Well,
Hmm.
you do start off with the brainwashing clause. So that is the Steve Hassan, what's it, label of warning label. It says that should be in any cult. He says there should be a warning label.
Yeah. Select tab to share. Select tab
Okay,
to-
Linda James, standing by for the share.
Here it is. Okay.
These live streams are tricky for all the little, you know, buttons and share the screen and, you know, do this and do that. But yours is stable, Linda James. There we go.
Thank you. Yay, we're here.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I
So
can actually
back-
read that.
So back to where we were at. We were under 2. So there's behavior, information, control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. And we were on the second one. So under information control, we got a couple of steps. We did a couple of steps last week. And then it seems like, let me read here, compartmentalizing information into outsider versus insider doctrines. That could be it. Ensure that information is not freely accessible. I do remember that. Controlling
Mhm.
information at different levels. Allow only leadership to decide who needs to know. Yes, I remember I went into this whole.
Yeah, because we were
No
talking
ways.
about compartmentalizing.
Yes. So encourage buying, impose the buddy system. I remember us talking about that.
Oh,
Ensure
yes.
the individual behavior is monitored by group. So number 5, extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda, including
Oh, yeah.
newsletters, magazines, and misquoting statements or using them out of context. That does sound familiar as well.
I think of all the trees that died for that.
All of the what?
All the trees that gave their lives for that.
Yep. Yes. This is true. I'm thinking that's where we left off, even though it sounds like we've talked about it. I think that's where we left off, because the next one is unethical use of confession.
Oh, yeah.
So propaganda happens through their magazines, their audio tapes, videotapes, YouTube. I don't think the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses uses YouTube very much. Movies and other media. So the latest thing is they are creating a media studio kind of thing. And they've talked
Right.
about the actors that will be chosen and things like this. So those are great sources of propaganda that can be used. Newsletters, magazines, journals, audio tapes, videotapes, YouTube, movies, and other media. Which of these do you recall, Matthew, that the organization definitely used?
All of the above.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, does JW use YouTube? Absolutely, it does.
Okay.
but not in the way that persons might ordinarily know. But what'll happen? Somebody was talking about gossip earlier, elders' wives, right? As a gossip channel. So you might find that in JW culture, for instance, as an example from our experience of negative high control religion, or I call it the weeds among the wheat. You'll have somebody that's distributing, perhaps, have you seen this video on YouTube? It's a news presentation about JW. Isn't it great? But it's like what Rick Ferron says, it's a fluff piece.
Yes.
So it's been done by a hired public relations office for JW, and they've paid for it. They've actually taken dedicated, so it's not the it's not the spontaneous kind of presentation people necessarily think it is. It's basically canned. And you'll notice anybody who's been tracking that, it's kind of died down. And I'll tell you why that's happened. It's died down because people were getting really fed up with it. And the hosts of a lot of these shows were going off script. And they were saying, no, we're not going to keep to this script, and very carefully weaving in some very awkward questions and putting those, if you want to say, incentivized JWs, or those persons that were supposed to go onto the show and follow the script. Nah, they weren't having an easy time because people were fed up and saying, nah, we're not going to participate in this if there's such a bad rep. We're going to start asking the tough questions that you didn't want to face. But done quite professionally. You can't actually say that they technically broke the rules. They didn't. They just slightly steered it in such a way that it turned up the heat. And so that's why they're not doing it so much anymore. It was having an opposite effect.
Yeah, I think, about 3 years or so ago, Henderson, or there was a gentleman that was doing like commercial interviews, okay? And they use him. He was a good-looking man, very, looked the part. He cleans up well.
Round spectacles, yep.
Yeah, so I don't know what that meant, but okay. Oh, yes, the glasses, yes. So he was doing a lot of these being interviewed things. And, a lot of times the person that was doing the interview either had family that were JWs, or they were JWs themselves and had their own kind of advertisement or channel for whatever reason. And I think he was like flirting with one of the ladies.
Oh boy.
Near the end. And it was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
He kind of couldn't help. That's kind of his my opinion, his nature. So and I've also heard that they kind of like X-nayed him. Maybe they'll bring him back, I don't know.
Yeah, we're not sure if he got the big eject.
Right? We do know he's been set aside for a while. That's for darn sure.
He's put on ice for a while. But yeah, he was becoming quite a famous face, for JW.
Yes, very, very good, front for, a spokesperson, front man, sometimes they're a spokesperson for a group is sometimes calling they're sometimes called a spokeshole. But yeah, he did that well. He did that very well. And it would be so, but let me tell you what I noticed about every time he did an interview. He would say that we do it because of love of neighbor. That's where he stopped. Scripture says to love our neighbor as ourselves. And that as ourselves never was said by him. And I noticed it every time. And I just can't help but think that can't be part of the program with Jehovah's Witnesses, the leadership, for us to love ourselves, to love our neighbors as ourselves. that doesn't work within the Watchtower. So that's my assumption. That's my opinion. So I pick up
Just
on
a
stuff like
correction.
this.
If okay, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a correction. I think we might be mixing up Henderson with Fifth. Fifth is the rap artist, and is
Yes.
it Robert Hendricks. So there's Robert
Yes.
Hendricks, and then there is Cliff Henderson. So I think Fifth Henderson is the ex-JW who does the music, and Robert Hendricks is the chap with the round glasses that's normally on the podcasts. And yeah,
I'm speaking of the person with the round glasses.
yeah, that's Robert Hendricks.
Okay. Thank you for the correction, because I was saying something else, wasn't I? Thank you.
Yeah, so Henderson, I do this as well. My brain makes these hooks, and that's Fifth. Fifth does the rap, and is
Yes.
ex-JW. Yeah.
Plus, he's a black man. And then Hendrickson, white man or Italianish.
Okay.
I don't know. So both of them are actually on the talented side. They actually are both very talented. Yeah. So I noticed that. I thought you were going to correct me on the part of when he would say, "We do this because of love of neighbor." I thought you were going to let me know that you did hear at one time that he said the full thing of, love our neighbor as ourselves. I was waiting to hear that.
No, I was intrigued by the flirting thing, because that was definitely love of neighbor, right?
Yeah. It's saying
Okay.
that that's
All right.
that's why we are doing the letter writing, because that's what they were talking about. So that when people were getting it, they would know why. Why? Because of love of neighbor. So they were still getting the Watchtower Gospel out, and it was showing up through letters and phone calls and stuff. And
Yeah, okay.
go ahead.
I was just reminded to give you a thumbs up, and so you got a thumbs up on
Thanks.
your show. So Jamar says, remember, give thumb up, like the show. Why is that important? Well, we appreciate those, because then it gets the message out. Yes, we do have a message, and the message is how to recover from spiritual abuse or negative high control institutions. I think that's what the theme is. And it's not just always about JW. Sometimes there is a political angle, which is how we started the show today.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding me of how YouTube is used. Thank you. That didn't come to mind. Movies and other media. So they've been showing little videos over and over and over again to where we're used to them being more videos, or the Jehovah's Witnesses are used to them. So they're weaning us off of the literature and bringing in video. So I even heard my mother say a couple of years back that the organization is no longer a literature company. I forget how she said it, but I remember just being shocked, because that took me back to some things that Russell had said. But I don't remember enough about that, so I'm going to drop that. And what about the misquoting statements or using them out of context from non-cult sources? Does anything like that come to mind, Matthew, for you?
Well, I was thinking of earlier in the night for you, where I was talking about with a guest 607 BCE, and what can I say? There was this idea of 607 and 587 and 586 BCE, which there was differences in the mainstream scholarship, and the professor that JW was using had some crisis of conscience and was removed, but they still used that information to promote the 607 BCE story, even though he retracted and aligned more with the mainstream 587, 586. So that was the one particular thing. So they used it for support of this pivot date 1914, which is very, very important in JW culture. And then also I was thinking of Barbara Anderson and the newspaper that was specifically giving some kind of kudos to JWs that was distributed outside of a convention. And she was saying this was dishonest because it was targeting just those people, and it was made to look as if there was some kind of breakthrough thing that they were making. It was kind of a people pleaser just for the JW community. Am I still coming through? Sorry, I haven't been using my microphone. Sorry about that, folks.
Yes, you have been coming through. And thank you for bringing up that story from Barbara Anderson. It was, you know, an assembly where whatever was being said by the pulpit would be confirmed in the newspaper, a secular newspaper. And what had happened was they had the secular newspaper print up things in the paper confirming what was said at the platform, but it was a different newspaper than society at large received. So it was done by deception. Am I still talking about the same? Is that how you heard that it happened, Matthew?
Yeah, because it was manipulative, wasn't it? It was creating a situation that was an artificial construct. It wasn't genuine. It was incentivized. It was arranged, you know.
Yeah.
So
the people there that got the newspaper from the secular newspaper, they're thinking everybody else out there in society at large are reading this confirmation as well, and they just were not, you know. So, which also reminds me of when the organization would rent a stadium, and I'm going to talk about Dodger Stadium because I grew up in Los Angeles. I remember distinctively when we drove into Dodger Stadium parking lot, there would be a few people at the location where you would collect money for parking. Okay. But they were not sitting in the booth. They were outside of the booth with their little vests on and collecting money for parking. Okay. Or money would be collected before the assembly for parking or other things. Right. So what I got to find out later is that the organization rented the whole stadium and parking was included. Followers did not have to pay for parking. It was included. But for some reason, they still had people there at these little booths collecting money for parking on top of already renting the whole thing. So parking did not have to be paid for. It was included in the deal that was made by whoever did those rentals, or, you know, for stadiums and stuff. So there was that. Have you ever heard of that, Matthew?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I've heard of also things like assembly halls going 3 times over budget. There's all sorts of things on the go that are working on multiple levels. I used to be well in the know, working with alongside Nolan Vingetha-Samy, who has got directorship over, what is it, Minus and these asset management in Ireland. So,
Okay.
yeah, we used to do all sorts of things together. Now, his training was in banking. So that's how he became a consultant for the governing body. He would go over there. In fact, they thought that he was an American citizen. They thought he was, you know, part of USA. Actually, not. He would just fly so regularly that they thought that he was part of Bethel family in the United States. I remember Samuel Hurd going, "Oh, you're South African? You're going back to South Africa? We thought you were part of this Bethel." Yeah, so
Wow.
chief consultant and a director for the Irish asset management firm. Last time we heard, I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if that's shifted around, but yeah, he was one of them.
Okay. And
But yeah,
and I also
they
did
oh,
you ever
sorry.
hear about taking a donation, maybe even though things are already paid for, where they needed to collect money to pay for the rental of it when it was already paid for?
Yes,
I
I've
under
heard of that.
I would understand the society would pay for the rental to begin with and hoping to get that money back
Yep.
from people doing their donating. And from
Mhm.
what I understand, they did get that money back, but then they would still make another announcement claiming that they're short when they weren't. So they
Yes.
would get above and beyond that amount that was, needed to pay back the organization
Yes.
for the rental. So I believe there was some of that going on too.
I did challenge it at business meetings when it came up, when I was invited to. I wasn't trying to make any deliberate waves or anything. I was just being honest as an elder. And when there was the opportunity to say something, when invited to say something, I did, and was met with the wrath of the branch coordinator when I did that. But yeah,
Yes.
they were sending funds to WWW, which the persons who had made the donation thought was going to upgrade the facilities, local
Okay.
facilities, specifically air conditioners. I think we know what happens with air conditioners. Whenever there is money set aside for air conditioners, it never goes towards the air conditioners. Doesn't happen.
Right.
Always goes. But in this particular case, that was exposed. And somebody got up on the platform in the business meeting and saying, "Oh, we do need to upgrade facilities." I said, "Well, we've got enough monies here that's well covered that. Just take from that and send whatever's left over to the Worldwide Work." The elders started voting yes.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
When the coordinator I could feel him like the Prince of Darkness behind me rise from his seat. Yeah, I didn't have to look. I had the whole
Side view. From the side of my eye, I'm looking at somebody.
primal gaze detection burning into the back of my skull as he sort of, like this phantom, dark shadow, up onto the platform. This elderly gentleman, like what is it? You can imagine Dracula or something, like this cloaked figure suddenly appearing, materializing on the stage and going, "We don't operate that way. We've never operated that way. That is not the way that things are done." And it created a division. I had elders come up to me and saying, "Matt, by the way, what you've said here needed to be said, and it's exposed something that we've tried to deal with for a long time." And I'm sitting there ignorant. Why? Because I grew up in a cult, right?
Right. And it's when you're in that place, the quickest thing that comes to mind is what settles in that cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
I got a new assignment after that.
Something tells me you got new assignments a lot.
New assignment. Here is the plunger.
It was like, okay, Matthew is wow.
What is your assignment at the branch, Brother Gray? Are you an overseer, perhaps? Are you in charge of the factory or personnel or something? No, I create effluent out there in the farm. With all the the chicken carcasses and the leftover food from the branch. Yeah. Well, that's not a very pleasant assignment. Yeah.
But
that was the kind of thing.
I also can see they kept you around too because of the man of integrity that you are and the sense of justice you have, to where that's beneficial too. But when you questioned, evidently you were out of line.
Very weird. It was a very Linda James, very weird thing.
When it makes sense and all of a sudden you're the bad guy. How did this happen?
I,
And then
I
you're,
was a I was a bad guy from day one. I look back on the life, Linda James, if you don't mind me saying. I look back and I was an irregularity. I'm telling you. I don't know. I think I was like a token JW. It suited some sort of um, maybe answer to say that we are quite liberal or something like that, and that's why I was on. But as soon as it suited them, they just got rid of my father, got rid of me. That was it.
do you think they go through seasons of purging, which is something that we audience you might have heard regarding Raymond Franz. There at that time, which was about 1978, 79, and 80, 81, 82, there was a time of getting rid of a bunch of um, loyal Jehovah's Witnesses within headquarters, and then even went down into congregations and stuff. If they would get rid of those that had any kind of questioning or weren't just loyal, obedient, behaving Jehovah's Witnesses, they kind of just got dismissed.
Yes. Yes. So unless you see, look, if you're a JW with property and you are connected to trust funds and things like that, they will have sussed out your profile, your wealth profile. Absolutely. So I don't know if you remember city coordinators. Do you remember city coordinators?
No.
So you might have a branch coordinator, you might have a coordinator of a body of elders, you would have a city overseer.
Okay.
And the profile of a city overseer was good in business.
Okay.
So they would say to the circuit overseers, please find out who has got assets. And they would say, because we're looking for stable individuals.
Yes.
That's how it would be presented. There are persons that are not necessarily going to move along too quickly, who are going to be stable in an area. The real reason is because there's assets.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would be trying to pull from the assets. That's I think we've established that, right? That if there's ways to do that, they will find ways to get their tithe. Yeah, but
What
your
does that
city.
what does that term mean? Pull from assets.
Well, they want persons who've got wealth.
Okay.
So say for instance, Auntie Sophie is now 90 years of age and is in, let's say, a care center. Two elders we've never ever seen before will suddenly materialize to Auntie Sophie's bed, and Sophie will be saying, "Thank you for getting that done, Brother Jack and Brother Joe. Thank you." And you're going, "What's just happened here?" And you find she's just signed over a will or assets over to them. So this is how it's done. So again, Matt's perhaps a very slow learner. I would find that with these kind of characters that are well respected by the branch, hardly know them, but they would always materialize in these kind of ways at deathbeds, and we would hear that they're part of HLC or part of some kind of or being sent down from the branch or on holiday, for instance, or taking leave, but they would suddenly materialize in these kind of ways. And yes, it was basically to get assets. And look, they'll be quite straight with you. They were quite straight with me. They were saying, Matt, you are organization property. So it even extends to the fact that not only is your property their property and your wealth their wealth, but you yourself are property. And you can be moved from country to country, which is what happened to me. That's how I ended up in South Africa. And yeah, this is it. Where are we on this list? I think we've sort of deviated.
You're right. So misquoting statements or using them out of context from non-cult sources. I just want to dovetail off of what you just said. So like Henrietta, there's a trust fund or something under Henrietta something or another. And
Hmm.
that's what I picture her being.
Yes. It wasn't a very big trust fund. It was quite big, but it put us onto track that there were these trust funds that were being managed. And we suddenly went,
Yes.
oh, this is interesting.
Right. Okay, so good. That did go together. Okay. So misquoting statements are using them out of context from non-cult sources. So I actually called in today to Six Screens because somebody was talking about the New World Translation.
Oh,
Being
Johannes
kind of-
Grieber and John 1:1.
Yes. So,
And you narrowed in that
Mhm.
sometimes there's validity to the Johannes Grieber, but it's sometimes blown out of context because it was very, very specific. That was what I caught, and I went, oh, that's a good scholarly point. Yes. Am I in the right direction?
yes. So you'll hear people talk about how the New World Translation was like either fashioned or a copy of Johannes Grieber's Bible. Okay, that is not the case.
Yeah.
They've quoted Johannes Grieber as confirmation for the Watchtower's definition, how they interpreted John 1:1 with the word was a God. Johannes Grieber's Bible does that at John 1:1 as well. So for confirmation of this being a good version or a good interpretation, they quoted Johannes Grieber's John 1:1. That's about it. Okay? This New World Translation was not fashioned after the whole Bible that Johannes Grieber wrote through his wife, who was a medium of the other side, who was, it just was very occultic. Okay, very occultic.
Yes.
He, by the way, Johannes Grieber was a defrocked priest. So he was originally a Catholic priest, and he got defrocked, which means kicked out, okay, of the Catholic Church as a priest. So he was still going on with his own ministry.
Sure.
The Grieber Bible sounds more honest than the New World Translation.
Yes.
John has got it down.
I love John's
God.
comment. Yeah.
That's
I think
hilarious.
of characters like Hillman, who studied ancient Greek, and how he got into trouble with the Catholic Church.
Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
not familiar
he's
with
he's
that
like real showman material. He was on Danny. Ooh, what's Danny's? Anyway, Danny runs this large podcast, and Hillman was on there. And I sort of think in those kind of terms for Grieber, but I think Grieber was conservative compared to that. But what's a cult? A cult is hidden knowledge, right? So specifically, this John 1:1 is interesting because this is your egregore pivot, or your tulpa pivot through information. What happens there? In the beginning was the Word. The Word was a God, or the Word was God. But there's materialization, and there's materialization through the printed page, because without the printed page, you would never know about these things. So because of the printed page, now the concept, I'm just stating that this is a way to look at things. I'm not saying it is the way to look at things, but it is a facet of looking at things, that you can make something materialize through language and through a printed page. You can make a God through printed page, because when persons say that the Bible is the authority, when Donald Trump swears upon the Jefferson Bible,
his hand did not touch it. His wife was holding it.
And what was underneath?
I don't know.
Because there was a cloth, and there was something underneath the cloth.
Yes, she had two stacks. You're right. She was holding two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is how things. This is a cult practice. It's just hidden knowledge. Yeah.
And that's something too, that keep this in mind, audience, that if somebody's turning you on to something new, and it's on the spiritual side, and they mention that it was hidden until recently or whenever, that's usually a red flag. That that's a common. Um, Anybody could say anything if they found hidden manuscripts. Okay, they can come up with anything. So it really widens the what could have been said in the Bible. It could be an extension. Like, for instance, the Book of Mormon for the Mormon religion, they have the Bible plus the Book of Mormon. So that was hidden stuff, these golden plates.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go back
That's a very good point. We've got somebody in the chat that's asking about what we're discussing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just said, well, Stephen Hassan, bite model, high control religion, and exposing some of the methodology for psychological control and potential coercion. Or we actually do say it's coercive, these things that are being used. But Purple says, as soon as the printing press was invented, the first thing the Catholic Church did was sell indulgences so the rich could buy their way out of hell. But I wanted to also focus on what you said about the Book of Mormon, because what was the Bible that they were using? King James Version. So if this Book of Mormon was inspired, why was it inspired using King James quotes? If the King James Version is a mere translation and not your original text, like what you would find in the Biblica Hebraica or in the Leningrad Codex. So the same mistakes that appeared in King James Version appeared in the Book of Mormon. And if it was under inspiration, then why a mistake? But then if you have mental dissonance, you'll say, well, God was appealing to those in his mercy to use these kind of mistakes because that was your anchor point. Well, it starts sounding less like God and more like humans and more like men, and specifically white men.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So hearing, I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it tonight or today, that the Mormon church is increasing in Africa. I don't know if it's South Africa or which part of Africa, but that concerns me if it happens to be Africans that are of dark skin, because their theology includes having a very negative attitude on people of color, because related to the story of Ham. So Adam and Eve's or Noah's kids, one of them, somebody had dark skin, and it was considered a curse. Okay, so the Mormons for the longest time considered those people of color to have done something bad in their pre-existent life before they came to Earth and became, a person that's residing on Earth and then their afterlife. So they would not even be able to be part of the church services or even temple events. So that's concerning to me. It wasn't uncommon for a Mormon to say to another Mormon, gosh, I wonder what he did in his previous life, or stuff like that. So it was this understanding that they were this color because of bad behavior. Okay.
Right.
So there's that. So I don't know the whole story of in Africa there's more Mormons happening.
Sure.
And Mormonism has changed.
Okay. Sorry, Linda James. I was just going to come in. You were mentioning Ham. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
So if I can just interject, if I may, Linda James, it was Genesis 9:25, cursed be Canaan, which is where we get cannibal from.
Oh, wow. Okay. Canaanites too?
Yeah, so cannibalism was still practiced even fairly recently down in Papua New Guinea, but it's still practiced in parts of Africa. So there's this idea of cannibalism, also cursed be Canaan, because of some kind of sexual deviance. So this is the idea of this race being cursed because of that.
And can you read the what Purple had made a comment.
Oh,
Noah's-
right. Purple says as soon as the printing press was invented, that one.
No, it goes down a little bit more.
The Bible
Yep,
is
yep.
God's perfect word. There are no mistakes. And Noah's son Ham was cursed because he saw his father naked. Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was that, and I believe the other brothers did this whole walked in backwards and covered him up kind of thing.
Sure.
So evidently, these brothers treated his. I believe he was naked because he got drunk or something and just landed that way, right? So that
Sure.
happens, which is
So-
why I don't drink.
So I need to just support the quotation that I'm using, because the quotation I'm using comes from the Awake article 1993 8/22, Why is Race Such an Issue? And it quotes from A.R. Fawcett, F-A-U-S-S-E-T, and David Brown in their Bible commentary. They assert, "Cursed be Canaan," and the quote is Genesis 9:25. So I think that's the synthesis. It's bringing together. Purple's quite right there, but this is also the Awake article that quotes why that happened. So we're not asserting one thing above another. We're just going to, those are the references that are used. So Purple, thank you very much, and thank you for bearing with that. And Linda James, thanks for letting me just interject there. The quote was Genesis 9:25, and the reference was Awake article 1993 8/22 under the heading, Why is Race an Issue? And of course, these views are not our views. They're just references that we're using.
Yes, so it's fascinating that the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses bring up that question along with that scripture. And with Mormonism, it is that scripture that is the basis of their theory of people of color having a pre-existent life behaving badly. And the assumption is they are people of color because of that. So there's that. And so that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Also, I've heard, and I've never looked it up, that there's a book that the organization put out having something to do with science or something, and there's a scientist that gets quoted, but he's misquoted. So either all of the story isn't really confirmed as a confirmation of what the Jehovah's Witness article said. Are you familiar with that one?
I was just thinking of Cush, C-U-S-H, because again, it's another one of these quotes. So remember, this is not our views. It's just, this is how these ideas come in. And
So these are techniques and tactics that cults will use. So we're relating
Yeah.
to
yes,
yeah.
this information control, using things out of context in an authoritative way that
Yes.
has the way to make an entire race feel like, we're subhuman.
Yes. And so Purple asked, didn't JWs not allow blacks to be members before 1975? I do not recall that. Again, I was 11 in 1975. I don't believe that's the case. I've never seen anything written to be this way. So if that did happen, it passed over me like I didn't realize it was happening, but it doesn't. I don't know of that happening.
Was it governing body members before 1975? So I think
I'm not
you've
sure.
got the situation where persons say, well, Samuel Hurd looks like he's the token race card that was given entry into as a governing body member to pacify the people.
That's
saying, hey, you guys
right.
were all slanted towards one particular race here.
Yeah.
So shut up, because now you've got Samuel Hurd in the house,
Right.
So,
With
yeah.
his beautiful, amazing wife, by the way.
Gloria, yes.
He is an amazing woman and good looking too. Beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So
I spent good time with them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. So I don't remember the name of the book, but I recall being told that something in a book that has something to do with silence. I'm bringing up something vague. Something was misquoted. So I don't know whether I know somebody. I know that somebody who listens to this will know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you think of it, please put it in the comments. Okay. Thank
I'm
you.
hoping Jay Mars will be able to put something there. He said Canaan was where Israel is now, not
Yes.
Africa.
Not what?
Yeah.
Not Africa.
Well, I get what he's saying,
Okay.
but I mean, if you think about Israel, it depends how you look at the world map, right? You could say that that's the center of the world. It gives you access to everywhere else in the world, right? I mean, you get access to the African continent, you get access to Europe, and you can follow it all the way down to New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, and Russia isn't, as it turns out, disconnected from United States with the ice and the glaciers. You can take a Land Rover Discovery or a Land Rover, what was it, 110 Defender across there with the right kind of wheels, and you can get into Canada or something, right? So look, the point is that the center of the universe on this planet is this, what Jay Mars is talking about, is Israel. It's that center hub. You can even get to the UK from there. Why? Through the underground tunnel. So I mean, if that whole area was peaceful, it would bind the entire system of continents on this planet. It would bind Europe, but you can't drive from Cape to Cairo through to Israel through to the UK. You can't do that. But if it was a peaceful place, you could have safe passage and you could get to Europe, you could get to Asia. You'd be able to do that. In fact, that they would be able to do tunnels and bridges all the way to New Zealand. That's why that land is so pivotal. But the way that you see it on the map, America's over here, Russia's over here looking big and large, and Africa's down here looking small in comparison. It all fools the mind with regards to these proportions. And what's your pivot point? Doink, Israel, right there, just above Egypt. If that place was all free and your Gaza Strip was all free, you'd be able to drive through there. You'd be able to have a road that would bind all of these continents together. But it doesn't suit the narrative. It's better to have them all divided.
Yeah. Pitted against each other. Purple said, fact-checking myself, it was Mormons who didn't allow black members until 1978. So that was pretty close. And talk about getting Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons mixed up. I think I mentioned this before. There was a time I was attending a Calvary chapel and we were going to go door to door about some event that was coming up. And we actually gave the gospel when we went door to door with them at the moment. But so I was telling my friend about this and he said, you want me to lend you my 10-speed bicycle, which is what the Mormons use when they go and do their ministry. The Mormons will do it, mostly the boys or the men will do it when they're 18 or something, 18 or 19.
Right.
They'll do 2 years, and it's very common to see them on 10-speed bicycles. So that was this friend of mine, getting the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses mixed up. So my point is, this is not uncommon to get these two mixed up. Yeah.
J. Mars did chirp up, says, remember Noah cursed Canaan? Where was the land of Canaan located? Question mark, question mark, question mark. In ... Fill in the blanks, folks. So thanks, J. Mars. You're ahead with that, and we enjoy your information coming in. Good information flow.
I have a feeling this is a rhetorical question that I don't know the answer to.
Well, look, it's together with misquoting statements. It's this whole BITE model, the extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda. It's been going on for years, not just in the past 100 years. This narrative has been going on for centuries, if not millennia.
Very true. So let's go on to unethical use of confession, which is number 6.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
this is an example of this would be information about sins used to disrupt and or dissolve identity boundaries.
Okay.
That was A. It
Yeah.
just didn't flow. B, withholding forgiveness or absolution. And C, manipulation of memory, possible false memories.
Yeah.
So does any of this ring true to you, Matthew? Any of
Yes,
that?
because I was a very open person. I remember having catharsis and revealing all my intimate private things to a couple of elders. And of course, that is part of the system, isn't it? Because
Yes.
how can they absolve you? But you see, you've got scriptures like James 5, which are used to say, well, a righteous man's supplication when it's at work has much force, and you go in there and you feel some kind of relief. So you go, oh, okay, there is catharsis. I mean, I've been in on elders' judicials where somebody's blood pressure has been reduced, or their diabetes, or some kind of health condition, and it's reversed. And you go, what have we just witnessed, folks? This is like modern day healing. It's incredible. So we can't undermine that doesn't happen. It does absolutely happen. I mean, there is a whole psycho-spiritual connection, but you cannot be absolutely categorical that that's going to heal everything. It's not going to heal necessarily somebody with an amputated leg or missing finger or missing eye or something like this. But there is this, I say, psycho-spiritual connection, which can lead to some kind of release, or the body records trauma or a bad decision or something like this, and you can release these kind of things. The elders that were Bethel elders, when you had Bethel elders versus congregation elders as a comparison, they used to be trained in those kind of things, and I witnessed and was part of situations where there was this form of healing going on, and it was incredible to witness, really incredible. But the unethical side of that is that you now have, I'm going to put it bluntly, dirt on people, and you can create a clique. Oh, you were forgiven much, therefore you need to do much for the master, and the master is us, because
right.
we are part of Christ's body. If we are the anointed, the genuine anointed, then we are
the bride of Christ. Yes.
substituting for Christ. So yeah, that's right. And if that's how they get the organizational control, so that whole narrative is, you must therefore do our bidding. We have created an authority structure endorsed by Christ himself and endorsed by the Bible. And you were forgiven much, you should therefore love the master much. I was called master. I was called master by men much, much older than myself, and going, where is this coming from? And it was coming from, yeah, just coming from that belief.
Oh, wow. Okay. A reciprocity, that's the word, right? Where if you give something to someone, you have this expectation to receive something back from that someone. Yes. And that can be used on followers, right?
Reciprocation, yes. Reciprocity. You said reciprocity? Yeah. Reciprocative. So that information about sins, it's used over you. Some say the sword of Damocles, because they go, well, if you turn your back on us, all of that is cancelled. The only reason why you're in this beloved relationship is through the grace of the system, or the grace of Christ. So therefore you are beholden, because what is it? Amazing grace saved a wretch like me. What do you did? You're just dust. You're nothing. So this information about the sins is used to disrupt or dissolve identity boundaries, withholding forgiveness or absolution. It's manipulation of memory, possibly false memories. Yeah, all of this is, it makes you part of the gang, folks. That's what it is.
Yeah, so your confessions given to a person and somehow they can forgive you doesn't make sense to me. But we're encouraged when we were Jehovah's Witnesses to take our sins to the elders, because they were
Right.
in a position that they would be able to help us with whatever we're struggling with or whatever
True.
sins we might have committed. Yes, but at the same time, that also gives them ammunition to use on us later if they so choose to. But wait a minute,
Correct.
they're placed there by Holy Spirit. They would never do anything like that. So that
Oh,
thought just gets exited out of your mind,
Sure.
because that would be cognitive dissonance. Placed there by Holy Spirit, use it as ammunition against me. That's two conflicting things that doesn't want to stay together. So, but in reality, that can be
well,
used.
yeah, that's right. So let's take something like Scientology, for instance. And we're not putting one religion above another, but this is some of the information that comes out. So if you're doing an audit, you're holding the cans, which is essentially a lie detector test. JW doesn't do that. They would use a psychological approach to kind of induce the same kind of thing. But Scientology uses the technological side to do, I would say, the same mechanism in principle. But in an audit, that audit information would go up the ladder, or the echelon would go up to the higher system. So that's always there. In JW, if you become like a consultant for research department, then your voice is the record. We keep the record there this is what you said when you were under a non-disclosure agreement or as a consultant when behind closed doors. Now we've got that information. Oh, wouldn't it be a shame if that got out? This would destroy your reputation. So you're going, I never want these records to.
I'm sitting here going, but wait a minute, what about clergy penitent privilege? We're not supposed to share it with anybody. It's confidential, yet it could be used as a threat.
Correct. And I have a record of those threats of elders saying to me, oh, Matt, if we make a mistake, wouldn't that be unfortunate? Wouldn't this be? But we're imperfect men. But you can see they're using this in a manipulative way. This is unethical. This is unethical. But I've got them on record. If this, I've tried with a live stream just now, just to try and start getting the ball rolling. I tried last night or your day. I tried to get the ball. Oh, you asked me. You said, "What are you reading, Matt?" You asked me.
There was like this PDF thing that was. I got there late. Is that
yes?
So he did a show earlier today in my world, which is April 11th, 2026.
Yeah.
Saturday. Okay.
I was trying to make a start on blowing the lid on the unethical use of confession. Yeah, I was trying to make a start.
Oh, nice. Okay. Unethical.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But yes, this whole point. So here it is. Say, for instance, now I'm going to take it a step further, Linda James, if I may. You can just say, hold, Matt, hold it.
No, please do, because I have to take a few bites of peanut butter.
Okay. Well, say for instance, I or another person was involved in CSA.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the person that you're confessing says, "Oh, I'm so glad that you are confessing. Well, it's all now sorted out. You've done the James 5. Hey, elders, how is this? Can we see that he's doing works that befit repentance? Yes. So therefore, can he? When did this CSA occur? Oh, it occurred many years ago. They say, right, you're still an elder.
Yes.
They could do this. That you could still retain your position. And then you know what they say. They say, oh, the reason why you've been able to come out of this, and you might be there crying your eyes out, oh, thank you, brothers, you've shown me mercy. Jehovah showed me mercy. And they say, no, well, Jehovah showed us mercy too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my.
Oh, I knew that would. Have you still got peanut butter in your mouth? Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah. That goes under creepy too. Oh my goodness.
It's very, very creepy. So that's unethical use because you've just created a clique. You've
Mhm.
just created a clique in that situation. They know you're one of us. Guess who suddenly zooms to
you.
the top?
Okay. Thank you.
This.
You've misplaced what
This
has
is
been going
how.
on in my mind. They have things on each other, or
Yeah.
they'll have things on you. So it would be even harder to leave your position if you wanted to leave in the first place
Correct.
because they have things on you. Yes.
That's right. Your hand is
Mhm.
you one of us, and this is how persons of that caliber get into these these guardian positions, these positions of influence, because you get persons who have been involved in the same thing, and they go, "Oh, this is one of us." So even if you go, it's not even nefarious on a psychological level. It kind of what can I say? It absolves the authority figure who's been approached by another individual who says, "Oh, I've been involved in CSA and I'm crying my eyes out because I've hurt Jehovah. I repent, whatever, you know." And there's this big demonstration of humility. Can't you see how humble he is? You know, he's contrite in heart. But the person who he's confessing to, if he was involved in CSA, it gives him validation. He goes, "Oh, no, this has been absolved in front of Jehovah. You used James 5. You're one of us." And they feel powerful too because they go, "Oh, it reinforces in my mind that my catharsis or my relief of being here, see how powerful I am, see how Jehovah has blessed me." It's like Moses who killed the 2 Egyptians and buried them in the sand. You know, we've all got skeletons in the closet. We all know where the bodies are buried. Okay, so it
Yes.
makes
Yes.
him feel powerful and it reinforces that, oh, he's in the clear. It's very powerful psychological control because he's now going, oh, the same benevolence. Remember, I was forgiven much. Well, you've been forgiven much. You're going to love the master more. I'm your master, or we are your
Wow.
master. Yeah.
Wow.
Please, may I go to the bathroom? That's how that happens. That's how that
Yes.
happens, Linda James. Okay, maybe I've said too much, but that is exactly the kind of problem.
So I'm sorry. So when you say, please, can I read a comment? It sounds to me like, please, can I go to the bathroom? And I tell you, you don't have to say, please. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I know you'll probably
except
do it
I've
more,
seen.
but I've learned that that's just you. That's just
Yeah.
how you
Well,
speak. So I'm not.
Well, then you've got older men. I mean, like research department saying to the branch committee, please, can I be excused to go to the bathroom? And I'm standing there going, what the heck are you talking about? This guy's just been producing watchtowers for the past 40 years, and he's asking a younger branch committee member if he can be excused to either go lie down or go to the bathroom. What kind of infantile mentality is this? But this is exactly what is cultivated within the organization. And this is why you've heard me mouth off about this medication for anxiety or this depression, although it's got its place.
Mhm.
But you also have a culture where the dependency on these things is a lot higher than your normal statistics in the population, Linda James. I'm not denigrating it, or I'm not trying to make somebody feel like, oh gee, Matt, are you anti the medication or something? I'm on that medication, or whatever. And you say, no, I'm not having a dig on persons who are medicated. I'm saying you've got a greater propensity in these kind of systems, and it's the Schrodinger's. It's this whole let's teach the Pavlov's dog or whatever. Let's teach it with the bell, and you're sending kids off to the school. Ding a ding a ding. This is your next lesson. Ding a ding a ding. You can now go to assembly. Ding a ding a ding. Stand up, sit down, salute the flag, whatever. Yes sir, no sir. 3 bags full, sir. This is how it's carried forward, and that's your institutionalization. And some people are completely comfortable in that because they don't have to think about it. But in our healing community, we're reclaiming our minds.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. And yeah, I agree with what you were talking about. A higher portion of people are on what, some medications. And it's not uncommon to ask, is this a way of dumbing down society at large? Could it be that way? And it could, it very much could. It very much could be. For me, it actually turned to opposite. Like I used to not be able to think clearly, and I would have been directed more easily without my medication. So I'm one of those medicated. I'm one of those medicine compliant people, and what I'm talking about is psych meds for depression and for ADHD. Before
Sure.
I took medication for ADHD, if I would read something, it did not go into my head and stay there.
Okay.
I didn't remember what I just read, and I would read it over and over and over again. I could not digest it.
Get
And
into
once
a
I
loop.
started in on medication, it made such a difference. I read the whole Left
Yeah.
Behind series
Yes.
of books at the time. Like, and I remembered all characters in it and everything. So, um, it could be used to dumb people down. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
women from back in the
I
days of my
experienced that with
mother.
nootropics. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, you experienced that
Uh,
with.
I beg your pardon, Linda James. It's not my intention to interrupt there. Sorry.
That's fine. Yeah.
Nootropics did that for me. As soon as, but I was in trouble, and the doctor was putting me on methylene blue and various nootropics and cycling them, and suddenly my production went right up. Able to go, and I'm going,
Wow.
geez, 10,000 words here. I'm writing, and production's gone up.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and I saw that, look, they have the power to alter brain chemistry in many, many different ways. I have touched upon that in some of my discussions or some of my presentations. I've touched upon this. But look, this is not just an institution. This is an entire medical system that's designed this way. Because a lot of these things should be in our nutrition. It should be in our foods. In Africa, you've got persons eating various roots, and it's feeding the brain. And I'll go, well, this is African science coming out here, folks. This is the natural way that we should actually be living. And guess what? This kind of living, these kind of things, they're closing in on the freedom to go and eat these kind of things. A lettuce isn't the normal kind of psychoactive lettuce it was before. It's been bred out, but
Yes.
a lettuce was a lot like cocaine, I think.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, I hear you. So let's go back to number 6, an ethical use of confession. There was a group called NXIVM, and
Ooh, yes.
with Rainier, who, by the way, was put away for like over 100 years. So
Okay.
this group NXIVM, they definitely used their confessions against them and would have them write things out. And they would call it collateral. And it was kind of a test for you to remain loyal, kind of things. And it got to the point where some of the women were literally having his initials carved into their skin. Okay.
Right.
And it would leave a scar. And they didn't realize it was his initials, but that's what it was. And so, yeah, that's an abuse of confession. Scripture says to confess one to another. And I can confess to a friend of mine and say, you know what, I really screwed up this way. And admit to it. If it's somebody I trust, I don't think they're going to go run and tell everybody, but being able to confess where I've missed the mark and kind of talk about it kind of helps me come up with better solutions on how I'm going to treat the situation next time. And within Christianity, you would go to God to forgive your sins. I wouldn't expect my friend to forgive my sins, but I would be confessing what they are, and saying that I'm struggling with this yet again. Thought I was, totally over it, but I'm going through it again. And but again, it's supposed to be God that forgives sins, not any humans, right?
Sure. Well, I was just thinking it's very Freudian, very Jungian, because what are some of our fundamental things is bathroom habits, eating, and also sexuality too. So if you think about sexual shaming, this is a very powerful control mechanism. Very, very powerful. What if we're developing sexually? That can be used to shame an individual. You could go, oh, this is an aberration, whereas perhaps it was some kind of developmental phase. I had a nurse identify this the other day with an individual and saying, oh, by the way, this person, because they didn't have normal dating or whatever as a teenager, their mind is stuck sexually in teenage sexuality. Okay. Wow, that's an astute observation, incredibly astute observation. So that's exactly happened in JW, because you can't even breathe something of a sexual nature. Those guys get aroused over a tiny little breeze outside.
My goodness. With men, I heard that's like kind of common. Like, it doesn't mean they're misbehaving in their head, does? I don't know how men think, but
well, I've had this happen with women as well. I mean, I've had women running outside screaming to God. I've got to take out the language, but going, I wish somebody would have intercourse with me, because this is just so incredibly frustrating what's happening. And the letdowns, and then sisters in the religion coming to me going, Matt, you know what, you're a target for incredible hatred, because because I was betrayed by an elder who was my boyfriend, and you know what, you look a lot like him, so I'm going to divert all my anger and all my sexual energies towards you and see that you're punished because he got away with it, and you're the way that I can vent that terrible thing, because I hate you. I absolutely hate you. And you're going,
really it was what you represented.
And you're going, well, why is there this incredible love-hatred thing mixed together? Gee, this is to play Misty for me. This is just terrible. I'd never want to get involved in some kind of sexual activity just because it's a nightmare. And you're realizing, but it's tightly woven into our survival instinct. This is how we all arrived on planet Earth, folks, because grandma and grandpa got together. That's how it happened. The banana and the donut.
Let's get it on.
So
normal human behavior, yes.
And they will fight for it. They'll fight for the protection. And if it's suppressed, that fight is suppressed. And where does it go? The energy's got to go somewhere. Nature abhors a vacuum, and there is a thing called justice. There is the balance on the scale. And if it's suppressed one way, it's going to jump out another way. These principles have been used to control people in religion and in governments for millennia.
Yes, and within mainstream Christianity, it kind of falls under purity culture. Within the organization, I've heard that, some teenage men had to have a calendar. Do you recall the calendar and the X's on the calendar? Are you familiar with this, Matthew?
No, but I'm just thinking that it's cyclic, and humans are very cyclic like this. Sure, phases of the moon, etc.
So from what I understand, if a young teenager confesses that he's involved in self-maintenance,
correct.
Self-maintenance, right, which, let me just say, I think is pretty healthy, in my opinion only.
Sure.
The shame he has to show up to, an elder and then confess this, which, again, I think is normal teenage behavior. Then they give him a calendar, or else he has to take a calendar. And anytime he gave into self-maintenance again, he would have to put an X on the calendar. And, and it was supposed to help this young teenager not do this any longer. And maybe that's something done with young teenage ladies. I've never heard that, but,
Yes. Linda James, it gets very embarrassing. I don't know, we should be careful also triggering the audience, but I, as a man, as an elder, I don't know how to say this on the airways, but I'm just going to come out and say it. And Linda James, if you can, I don't know if you can save the day on this one, but I'm just going to tell you what happened. There were women coming to me and saying, Matt, I'm clear on the calendar. And I'm so ashamed that 2 months ago I failed on this, or I broke my virginity or something, you know, and going, I feel like I am worse than an insect. I mean, we're talking about incredible shaming. I remember this happening in a field ministry. I'm getting memories of this coming through, and a sister going, I can't work with you, brother. Go, why? You're so pure and I'm not. What are you talking about? Yes, I failed, and what did you say? Self-maintenance, and bawling their eyes out, and it's just horrifying. Jehovah's going to destroy me at Armageddon, and it's all coming out, and you're going, liberal Matt going, listen, you don't actually have to say this to me, but thank you very much that you did. And by the way, are we all clear? Glad it's all out in the open. Great, cool, fine. Why don't you just take control of your own life? It'll empower you. And by the way, you don't need to talk to me about this kind of thing, but I'm glad we had this discussion. Can we move on? And you just see the smile, and you can see the person flourishing. But you know what the crime is? They're now experiencing joy, and somebody's got a rain on their parade in the congregation. So I would find that persons that get liberated like this, and they're going, oh, well, who was involved in this? Brother Gray, that apostate. Okay, well.
That's too funny. Brother Gray, that apostate.
That gray area. Oh, no, I've had it for years.
Oh, man. So it's good to hear that you were just like trying to be like, listen, darling, you don't have to come to me for this.
Yeah.
You know, and it frees them up. And women especially, our value is related to our purity and our virginity. Okay. You've heard the term, I've lost my virginity from women. Listen, I knew exactly where I left my virginity. I remember where I was and who I was with when I gave my virginity. I didn't lose it. I gave it. Okay. This is my attitude against purity culture, against that purity kind of women are only seen as being good if they are virgins when married, and who they are married to. That's about it. Okay.
It's control. It's this whole, I'm going to say that definitely falls into unethical use of confession. These are very private things. And it's all used for control. That's what it is. It's this whole shaming thing. And the fact, and this idea that other humans can impart this miraculous catharsis upon you to absolve you of guilt, and in which case now can I say that's a trauma bond?
I think so. Because just the shame, and it's just horrible. Shame and guilt, and shame only works if you swallow it. So, guilt can help us kind of, we feel a twinge of guilt, and maybe it might help us reflect and decide not to behave in a certain manner. But shame lingers, and it only works if you swallow it. Next time you feel shame, I suggest you chew that stuff up and spit it out, because it only works if you swallow it. So let's not. Okay? Let's not.
I've got so many stories flooding in, Linda James. I mean, I can think of old men in the branch, old men, old women in the branch, in positions of oversight. I cannot tell you on the air about this stuff, but it's in Bethel.
Yes. And I've heard you mention a few times, I don't know if I even want to hear this. It puts you in a uncomfortable place too. So I would imagine some of the other people that are in positions to where they would hear these confessions, is that doing them any good?
Well, I think our imaginations go so far, but I'm going to say the imagination and then go a few steps further. It really is like this. It really is. And I'm just, I had one chap saying to me, oh, by the way, I was put onto hormone therapy, and guess what happened? I'm going, oh my word. I do not want to play this guessing game. I really don't. I please don't. Or Matt, I was on the. Oh, this is the other one because the internet's so carefully controlled, right? So he's going, oh, Matt, the other day I was typing in lovable animals. I typed in lovable animals. Do you know?
Beyond furries, I don't know. It could be.
It triggered everything in this.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? So my dad is married to another woman besides my mother, and their daughter, which is not my father's biological daughter, but she is my sister. Okay? She is a furry, and my dad and her mom don't know what that means, and I'm very glad. I'm very glad. So,
yeah. Anyway,
and if y'all want to know what it means, you do the Google search.
Well,
I'm not going to tell you.
I'm gonna announce this. Why not? The circuit overseer who's serving this area. I mean, he was dating outside where I lived. I mean, the opposite door, he's visiting the girlfriend, and I could see absolutely everything that's going on. And he's, excuse me, servicing the area here. He's servicing the area. But I can't sort of, in my mind, I'm still living exactly, I go, yeah, you know, there was so much tolerance. There was so much tolerance for what you were doing here, and now you missed a circuit overseer. What? Because you've grown out of these antics because you're now married, and no, I know exactly what you were getting up to, and you know that I know exactly what you guys were getting up to, and that, you know, suddenly with a couple of years that goes by, it's all forgiven and forgotten and all of this kind of stuff. No, you were treated with utmost. What can I say? Liberalism, I suppose. I just went, yeah, you're just behaving naturally, and I don't see any kind of problem. No, genuinely, I wasn't sort of brushing away the rules and the regulations, but I was also going, you know what, you guys need some sort of flexibility, and I'm not going to get involved in your personal lives like this. You know, you're responsible, and in front of God and to thine self be true, you know.
Right.
I was more into that. That's more empowering than coming down and regulating. And you know, you over-regulate, you can actually cause it to happen, some kind of further problem happen that's worse, because you know, humans need some kind of privacy, actually.
Absolutely. And even when people are put in situations for where there's all one gender, and there's all another gender that's all one. So people that find themselves, say, in prison for a while, and they're only accompanying the same sex. I've heard a previous prison guard speak of some people that will get together,
yes,
for the time of being in there, but it doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to be in that realm. Sure. When they leave prison, but it's just for the stay, which says to me how much we need human touch, how much we need affection for survival. And that takes me to the place of, you know, orphan babies, and they all needed to be picked up, and if there was one that didn't get picked up and didn't get held and known and talked to, it's very likely they will die. And so we all need human touch. And when I was a hairdresser, I got to touch many people because I was in their space, you know, so it was an understanding. So even though my touch was nurturing and nourishing to them, I received that as well, being able to go through someone's hair, being able to touch their shoulders, being able to talk to them and groom them, right? You know, go through their hair and fix it and everything. And they feel better. I feel good about it. And they walk out feeling great. You know, it was very rewarding to me. But part of that reward was being able to have human touch on my side as well as them on their side. You know, of course, there's a time and a place for that. And in the salon, in a salon, it's okay. In a salon chair, it's okay. But I couldn't do that if I was at the supermarket. That would be inappropriate for me to just do that to somebody standing in line,
Right.
touching their hair or their shoulders. That would be an intrusion. But we do need human touch. We do need physical affection, and I
Right.
just think they're built that way. So yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to the page.
Interesting discussion, Linda James. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think this is solution oriented. We're getting to define this ethical, and also sometimes it isn't always deliberately controlling. It's just maybe that was person's experience or whatever they felt in their spiritual development, and it's just rubbing off, excuse me for saying that, onto other people, or influencing other people. But then you also have those that have nefarious ideas and control other people through intimate details and controlling that information. That's unethical, sure.
I think it's a shame when, like, a purity culture, or if this kind of area of the combination of playing patty cake, okay, is never mentioned to someone that we're raising. It sets them up for possible sabotage. To me, it's really important that there is some education so that they understand what happens with their body and how it works and what it does. So, and I just think that's important. And I was able to be that way with my kids. And I've even talked about stuff here on the show. Next thing you know, I'm like, this is the womb, here's a fallopian tube. I just go there because I just think it's not a big taboo, when speaking of certain things, when it's appropriate to talk about it, right?
I don't know if this is useful to the audience, but I was so controlled and so disciplined that my dreams took over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was so, in fact, there was a German scientist, doctor, who identified, said regarding me, they identified it somehow. They said, oh, you get caught in alternative realities.
Huh.
I said, and they were so spot on, Linda James. They were so spot on, because my mind, for whatever reasons, was creating. You talk about survival, right? So the mind was creating an alternative reality that was so vivid, incredibly vivid. Why? Because it's the survival release. This is what was happening. And I remember contacting elders and going, oh, I recognize that there is this, I'm not losing touch with reality here. I'm not losing touch, but I'm having these dreams that are so real. This is what's happening. And of course, they didn't know how to handle all of that. Of course, now we have a lot more information. That's why I go, I'm grateful for the psychologists that I do have association with, because we're able to look at all of this and go, oh, the amount of information that we have in the past 140 years is very revealing about how these things operate. Pituitary gland, pineal gland, the firing between that, the suprachiasmatic system, the cerebral spinal fluid, if you want to talk about raising of chrism in spiritual practice, or in some spiritual practice, the piezoelectric current, which is the inner eye. This is all incredible stuff, and just we're so sheltered in a place like JW culture, where you're just not getting this kind of information, or it's taboo, or dare you even breathe a word of it,
Right. But we had to hear it from the pulpit all the time. Whatever you do, don't do this. And they explained. Yeah. So don't think about this. Explain. Like, but y'all are telling us about it all the time. You know, so it's almost like.
But here's the reality. The reality is the service desk guys are all the statistics are they're involved in this kind of thing,
Sure.
and they're
Sure.
carrying it around like guilt. They're not actually walking around clear with clear consciences. They're actually carrying the guilt. There's very, very few persons that I found that were with clear conscience. They do exist, but there's very, very, very few statistically. In my, if you want to say, tenure of service, I found that no, the persons were carrying guilt with all of these kind of things. So it wasn't actually getting sorted out. And I was going, well, that's not just JW culture. That's in a lot of religious practices. I see it in the African apostolic faith missions here where the guys
Definitely apostolic, yes.
yeah, and they're
Yeah.
caught in these cycles of confession the whole time, but it's not actually curing the problem. Okay.
Yes. And so in the realm of Christianity, what you start off with is that you're born bad. You're born with a deficit, and we need something to make it right. So that something is Christ. And that's the gospel thing. And then there's a bunch of other things in between. And I can remember even being educated at a Baptist church that religion is man's attempt to have a relationship with God. Religion wasn't something God created to be in relationship with us.
Yes.
It's man's attempt. And
Yes.
there's a few good things about it, about going to church and having fellowship or being in community is one of them. But there is other areas for community as well, which is something we really, really do need. So
Well, as you were talking there, I was thinking also the quote, religion is the opium of the people.
yes.
So,
So when yes, please go on. I'm sorry.
well, as you were talking there, look, there is the good side, there's the bad side. There's the dark, there's the light. Where there's light, there's shadow. So I don't want to demonize all of these things.
Right.
I made a mistake. Yeah, about a day ago. Yeah, and I'm still trying to recover from it. I'm like, Matt, how dumb are you, for goodness sake? And I know why. Tired.
Yes.
Tired. This is how I get into this thing. And I'm
Oh my
going,
God.
how did I make this bloody mistake, And I'm going, no, Matt, just stop being hard on yourself here. But to support you here, the film, As It Is in Heaven, is a great one, because you've got in that film this church pastor. He's got pornography under his bed. The wife says, I've known what you are for 40, 50 years. I know exactly what you are. Okay. She was the spiritual person. He was the tight, pious clergyman. Okay.
Right.
That was coming down on everybody else, but he had the problem. He had the addiction problem, and it was demeaning to her, but she forgave it. She surpassed it and went, oh, this is in the nature of my husband. I forgive it, and I've gone past it. And she was going, oh, by the way, yes, religion is the opium of the people, or I believe that, in fact, she says the famous quote in As It Is in Heaven, this film. She says, I believe that this thing was created as a mechanism of the church to bring in the money or to bring in the control of the church. She says, I've so far past this thing. So far past it. But yeah, it's a great film to have a look at.
Wow. Well, it's
Gregor Vilupo is saying, have to go now. A good day for you all, and all to the people that care about you too. Cheers. Well, thanks for stopping by. Good being with you. Thanks for being present.
Thank you. So withholding forgiveness or absolution and manipulation of memory, possible false memories. I want to pick up on that next time we get a chance to hit the bite model. Because they're both a thing that can be used in a negative way. It holds people hostage, that creates oppression in their lives. And today, part of healing is knowing that we have more possibilities, and that we have, we don't have to be living in shame. You know what I'm saying? Yes, pay attention to some guilt, but the shame that used to be upon me when I was involved in the organization, and even Christianity, it wasn't really helpful. It really had my psyche in a very bad place. You know, it didn't, I spiraled down. So I tend to think that the shame is used to keep people down, you know, and it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go to that next time we get a chance to. And I appreciate what you've offered tonight, because you were spot on many of what everything you brought, everything that you talked about, you definitely were spot on about it. And it was good to hear what came up for you. Very good to hear.
I see Anne Marie in the comments is just being very appreciative. Anne Marie, I got to tell you,
She's
just
still
your
awake?
presence here. Yeah, well, Anne Marie, how you do this so much, and you're giving and giving and giving and giving. Anne Marie, you are, I told you, total class act. Really, thank you very, very much. You say thank you both for a very engaging show. Informative, engaging, good stuff, person, blue speaking, microphone. Anne Marie, you have set an incredibly high bar, and it's really great to have you present. It's also great to have many fine minds engaged in the chat. I think about Purple. I think about Jay Mars, Sheila. There's many here. So I realize that we've got to acknowledge everybody that has remained present. But Anne-Marie, it's really good fun having you with us as well. And you've got a lot of experience that you bring to the table. And yeah, I think there's a feeling of gratitude and appreciation here, Linda James, if I may say that.
I agree. I agree. And like I said before, she does a show through the platform of 6 Screens of the Watchtower, through Rick Farron. And that is actually on YouTube under the name Rick Farron. So if you look for 6 Screens through YouTube, you don't want to go to 6 Screens. You want to go to Rick Farron to find that. And she usually starts the day off, and then they go from there. And I've really appreciated her nurturing tone of voice when she's talking to people, and it has supported me as well. Being nurtured in a very positive way, because sometimes people can be very condescending, like, you know, oh, you just said that already. No, just commonplace empathy is what shows up with Anne-Marie, and I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Anne-Marie. So you'll get that when you hear her show. You'll get to hear that. So I have to laugh because the XJW convention thing, she just walked up to the platform and went, yep, I'm just going to talk freely. She didn't even stand at the platform. She just walked to the side and did her. You know, it was like, this is me. This is what's on my mind. I'm like, girlfriend, go. Yes. It was very cool. And she had already went through, like, I don't know, all kinds of stuff just to get there. It was quite the event.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for some to get there, but they had persevered, and of course Anne-Marie was one of them. It is a phenomenal event and a phenomenal resource, that assembly. It was put so well together, and it was connected to professionalism, professionals, the persons who were licensed practitioners for mental health, and yeah, brilliantly done. And of course also an exposure by persons who'd been doing this for a very, very long time, who had used all the routes so that you could see, oh, this is not as it seems. There's this definite spiritual abusive thing, and it was uncovered. It was exposed. I look back and I go, I really hope some kind of DVD or permanent media is made for that, because I think that we will be drawing from that information for a very, very long time. I think once that happened, it cracked the lid on it. Really did.
Yes. So you'll be able to find that convention from August of last year, I believe, on Rick Farron's channel. So I don't know if he has a playlist for that, but you'll be able to find the 3-day convention on his channel if you ever want to listen to it. And the way it was set up was like first day, morning, afternoon, and night, or 2 parts for one day. And same thing with the second day, and same thing with the third day. So you'll be able to put it in order and make your own little playlist on YouTube to be able to, take in however much you want to at a time and pick it up the next day or the day after. You can just go at your own pace. This has been a very cool night. I've just really enjoyed how conversation has flowed, and yeah. Thank you so much. Can you read some of the comments? Are you in the mood to do that?
I am in the mood, Linda James, the way that things
you.
are sort of winding down. It's been 2 hours, 40 minutes. 41 minutes. Happy Thoughts says, thank you all for allowing space for everyone to speak so freely about personal perspectives. It's not always easy to discuss such private issues. How many kisses here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's a good number. Purple says, you think about me no matter how much you try not to. I said purple crown chakra, just saying. Who else have we got in the comments? We've got Anne-Marie, also very appreciative. We did mention that. But yeah, Gregor Vilupo, 3625. Thank you for just being present. I realize that you may have gone off just now, but thank you very, very much. Jay Mars has always been coming up with great comments as usual, so thank you very much for your contributions, Jay Mars. That about covers it. I don't know if there's anybody else that I've missed in the comments. If I have, I apologize. Oh, there's Gwen 9792 was also contributing there as well. Thank you very much for being with us. Nobody else I sort of spot. Tale Teller Media did come and join us, so very grateful for your presence. Linda Lawton also just popped in to say hello.
I've mentioned her. She's who I want to be when I grow up. Every time I see her, I say that. She's class personified. Yeah.
Mama Bear also coming in. Alice Power also chipping in too.
Cool.
Linda James, I think that's about it. Dallas also has been present, so that's great. Not that we're doing a roll call or a check on who's who and we follow through and, hey, where were you lately? But right. It's just really fun having our particular regular contributors coming in. That's all. So we just thought maybe we could just mention you, have a shout out, say hi, and also just express some appreciation for you being present as well. Linda James, does that sort of bring things to almost to a close? Are you going to sort of bring things down to a wind down and wise words?
I'll just
Okay.
We'll tell them wise even if they're not, right?
Well, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to also just disappear as I normally do. I'll hang on to after show things, but I'm just going to say thank you for being a gracious host, and I'm looking forward to the wind down. So thank you very, very much. Thanks for allowing me to chip in and also be a guest on your show. Big respects, deep respects to you and for the flow of conversation in politics and also in religion and in the healing space that you create. I think you do an amazing job. So thank you. And also thank you for supporting me and my exploration. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is our Matthew. He keeps showing up, and I keep enjoying him being here. So I'm going to wind down the show now, and mentioning those that are in the chat. It's important to me that you know that I know you're here. I know I can be in just get caught up in conversation and not be paying attention to some of the comments just because conversation is flowing here. But I am thankful for all of you that have made comments, and even those that are just listening in and not making any comments. I appreciate you as well. And those that end up listening later, thank you for doing that as well. The way that different videos will be brought into YouTube even more is if they're liked and if they're shared. So if you have found some value from tonight's show, please like it and share it. And actually, I've noticed here and there that the videos have been shared mainly on Facebook. And let me just say, on Facebook, they don't stay there permanently. They stay there for a few months and then they get automatically deleted. I'm not sure why, but that is the case. So keep that in mind. And if you're wanting to share, I want to encourage you to share the YouTube videos, because I think that the posts that you put up would probably stay there longer. So I appreciate that too. Every week, this is really the highlight of my week. I know I say it every week, but it's true. It's true. I'm thankful that that you guys keep coming back and actually want to hear what I have to say, and I appreciate the things that Matthew has to say. It's really fun, to be honest. It's really fun, and it comes very natural to me. So thank you for showing up for something that really comes natural to me. I've looked into the organization a lot because my biological family of origin are still in this organization, and I'm not someone who, I used to think very heavily, how can I get them out? How can I get them out of this cult? And then I was at a place where it's going to have to be somebody else. And now I'm more so at a place where it's really their decision. And yet I struggle with that one, because is it really their decision if they were deceived, to join it? I just think to myself, that's where they're at in their journey, and I have more respect for them. I also, I just lost it. So I was talking about, okay, I'm not one of those people who thinks or has the mindset that I want to bring the watchtower down. I'm not about like banging on the bricks and making it all crumble down. Would I like to see some change? Yes. And I get very excited when authorities higher than myself hold them accountable, because I have found that it is court cases that have contributed to some doctrinal changes. So that's something that I'm more about than tearing down the watchtower. That's not who I am. Jehovah's Witnesses are my people. Okay? I love Jehovah's Witnesses. My beef is with the leadership and the constraints and the things that are passed down and used on us to isolate us, and for us to behave in the manner that is not in our best interest. So I'm definitely against that. But as far as freedom of religion, it's a human right. It's Article 18, and the organization has gone to court on many occasions, arguing for their freedom of religion, Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But what was never mentioned as I was growing up is, in the center of what's said with Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is that people have a right to change their religious beliefs, either to another belief system or to nothing at all. So for anyone that's a Jehovah's Witness that wants to do that, your human rights entitle you to be able to do that. Unfortunately, the organization gives you horrendous consequences. That is something that I'm finding different court cases are attempting to challenge them on. And that's kind of helping a bit of that doctrine to go away too. But I just want to remind you that that is something that is your human right. For you to receive a consequence of being disfellowshipped or removed and or losing your family and friends is horrifying and horrible. That is not okay. And that is one of the things that I would like to see change within this organization. And also in America, children have no human rights. Okay? It sounds bizarre. It's like, what are you talking about? You know, what do you mean children have no human rights? They don't. Okay? It wasn't ratified to give children human rights. You might see goat-like personality, Jonas, you know, be all for the, you know, human rights, especially for children. In other countries, you know, there are some human rights for children, and there's others that don't, you know. But you would think that, you know, the United States would. So keep that in mind when the headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses is in the United States, okay? They don't have to do things in a manner of making choices for children that respects children's human rights because they don't have it, okay? And I think I saw a post recently by Carrie Kay. She put up a post recently. I think it was from just 2 days ago, speaking of human rights. So look her up. Carrie Kay. She made a recent post in Facebook on human rights. Okay, so I am looking forward to seeing you all next week. And today is April the 11th, 2026. Yesterday on the 10th was my middle daughter's birthday. Today on the 11th is my oldest daughter's birthday. So I had 2 kids 4 years apart. And my the one that was born on the 10th was like just 15 minutes more, and she would have had the same birthday as her older sister. But no, they didn't. She didn't do that. She was like, nope, that's not going to happen. So happy birthday, Sarah, and happy birthday, Angela. I love you, girls. And I'm going to say goodnight to all of you here. Thank you for being here. I will talk with you next week.
I never made it, but I know